Welcome to episode 12 of the Hong Kong Trail Walkers podcast. This is your host Vince. This is part 3, the final part with Jeri Chua, the very accomplished ultramarathon runner who's done so many things from 2009 to 2015. In this podcast, we talk to Jeri we ask her personality questions, her philosophies on certain things like medicines and so forth. So welcome back, Jeri.
Thanks. Hi.
Hi. All right. So I'm gonna ask you some personality questions to begin with, right? So we touched upon why you run, right? But is there a spiritual or religious element to why you run? I mean, what do you think about when you run? Do you have conversations with yourself, or tell us about that?
Yes, I talk to myself a lot. I talk to God a lot. I'm not an overly religious person, but I've learned over the years that faith is very important. I gave a talk last week at the SMU, Singapore Management University Adventure Conference, and I was speaking on perseverance. And one of the key things that I feel, perseverance is not a singular trait in itself. It has to be intrinsically linked to faith. Faith is when you take a step into the unknown. When, for a control freak like me, faith has been a very difficult thing to get my head around. But with spiritual faith, like just knowing that, or just believing in God and the fact that there's something bigger than myself out there, the faith to carry on, to step forward into, a completely unknown realm of, will I be able to complete 400 kilometers, or will I be able to land this next business deal, or not even things like that, just spiritually, just moving forward. I think faith is really, really important, and it's something that has carried me forward over the last 5 years.
There's two questions on that. Do you mean faith in yourself, or faith in something bigger than you are, or both?
Both, but more so faith in the unknown, faith in God.
So something's going to look after you, something or someone out there, their guardian angels looking after you.
Yes, but not in an absolute sense. I mean, if I trip and fall, my guardian angel's not going to suddenly throw a big fat fluffy pillow under me. I know that because I trip and fall a lot. But it's just knowing that things are going to be okay, regardless of how bad they might seem at the time. I've gone through enough ups and downs to realize that if you don't have faith, then it's all faith and hope are themselves are intrinsically linked. If you don't have faith, you don't have hope, and if you don't have hope, then you can't see beyond what is just in front of you. And if you can't see beyond, then sometimes if the situation seems impossible, whatever's in front of you seems impossible, you won't see a way out of it. And then you spiral into a bit of a depression because you don't know how you're going to get yourself out of it. But if you realize that, or you believe in something beyond what is right in front of you, it gives you hope that, there is a chance that something will happen that will get you out of this situation, or that will lift you up so that you have the strength or the extra discipline or strength to get yourself out of the situation. So I think it's something that's quite important, I think.
Okay. So we spoke about your mental fortitude before, right? That you're essentially stubborn, and you
Yes.
what was that? Andre's 3 things.
Oh, relentless forward motion.
Relentless forward
Yes.
motion. But is mental strength something you train for every day? Do you have a set of affirmations, or do you wake up and say, I'm an ultra marathon runner? How do you train that side of things?
No, I definitely don't wake up and say, it's like proclaim good things about myself. No, that's not how I work, unfortunately, or fortunately. I think because of my schedule, I run alone a lot. I have to try and squeeze things in, and that has been something that a result of that has been that I've got to have a lot of mental discipline, and I have to work on my mental strategies to keep myself going. So there's no company on long runs. It's me, myself, and I, and God. He's always there.
Would you be able to share some of those mental strategies?
Yeah, I don't think they're very different. So I try not to think about the whole distance at once. Obviously, just break things up a little bit. I try and envision things like the finish, for example. This was from Matt Coops, who was my previous coach, and it was great actually. This was one of the things that really helped me through Tour de Jaune. So he told me to visualize, and for me, I'm not so much of a visualizing person. I like to go out and get things done. So I thought, well, how is this going to help me? And he got me to visualize my finish and just be in the finish moment. This is, bear in mind that I haven't even started yet. So think about what you can hear, what you can see, how the crowd is reacting, how you feel, and take that. And he told me, put it in a bubble. And that is your finish bubble. And you are going to carry that with you throughout the whole race. And that is, it's fait accompli. You know you've done it. You've seen it. You've felt it. You've tasted it. You've thought it. So when you're on the course thinking, I'm never going to do this again and I'm going to stop at the next checkpoint, remember your finish bubble and remember you've already done it. All you need to do is put one foot in front of the other and get it finished. And so I did, and that's one of my strategies that I've used since, that finish bubble mentality. And I think it's funny because when your brain is tired, when my brain is tired anyway, and I think about my finish bubble, and I just think, I can't give up now because I saw it. I really was. I was there, And if I don't finish, maybe there's going to be this weird alternate reality that I get into, that everything goes wrong, so I better just carry on and fulfill my finish bubble.
It's kind of a part B to that previous question, right?
Yeah.
So when the going gets tough and you're in a lot of pain, but you know you
Yeah.
can continue,
Yeah.
right? The conversation you have with yourself, right? Is it like a rational conversation where you say to yourself, you know what, I have the finished bubble with me, I'm going to keep going, or do you have a recorded statement somewhere in your head that you keep playing out to yourself that you've rehearsed prior to the race?
No, I don't. I do realize that your mental disposition can change quite a lot during a race as well. So sometimes you're very determined, and other times you just think, you know what, then the next checkpoint I see, that's it. I'm taking my shoes off and I'm throwing them away, so I can't put them on again. But for me, it's more just to keep going. I don't see that someone's going to come rescue me or give me a pat on the back, or especially if you're in the middle of a mountain. It's like you either go forwards or you go backwards. You can't just sit down. The helicopter's not going to come, and if the helicopter comes, then you better hope that something is hanging off so that it justifies the cost of the helicopter. But no, apart from my finish bubble, I do sometimes write things down on my arms or something in indelible ink on my race, the race profile, the course map, perhaps, so that when I'm tired and I forget, that I can look at this and it will remind me. So at the back of my course profiles, usually I will have a few questions. Are you hungry? Are you tired? Are you bleeding? Are you in mortal danger? Stuff like that. And if it's no to all the above, then just keep going.
No to some of the above?
No to some of the above. So if I say if I'm hungry, then yes, then just eat, basically. It's questions to remind me to keep my perspective and keep my priorities. So if I'm in mortal danger, or if I'm bleeding badly, obviously, not just from something tiny, then that's something to consider. Yes, okay, maybe you can consider stopping for a little while and assessing damage, but otherwise just keep moving.
Wow. Okay, so the next one I have for you is this, right? You obviously travel to different places and do a lot of races, right? How do you deal with the time zone difference? Has that ever been an issue?
Yes and no. I think it's gotten to the point over the last couple of years where I travel so much that I don't normally remember what time zone I'm in. So I just try when I get somewhere. If it's quite a drastic time zone, I just try and follow that time zone as quickly as possible, or try and work out when the race is going to start so that I can just get as much rest as possible just before.
Okay. And if your next question for you is this: if you're injured and you can't run, what do you do?
So sometimes, depending on the injury, I can kite surf, and I suppose I can cycle. I did, following the Anzac Ultra injury, I actually bought a foam belt and went running in the pool, and went running at Repulse Bay, in Repulse Bay. That was quite different. But generally, I try and rest. To be honest, I haven't had that many injuries where I've had to be out of action for a long time. Most of my injuries have been, or not running injuries anyway, it's more accident style injuries where I trip over.
Okay. So I want to ask you about your fears. So before an ultra, right? We all fear something. Like for instance, I fear stomach problems, right?
Yeah.
So my question to you is: do you have those fears, or how do you deal with them? And if you have fears, what are they?
I don't really have any major fears before an ultra, or in general. I don't think cockroaches. I'm terrified of those. But then they would make me run faster as long as they're not running in the same direction as me. I think my approach is just to see what happens and make the best of whatever situation presents itself, really. I figure I can get around most of it. I have a Leatherman. Failing which I have Tailwind. It's all you need all day, really.
So you're rather fearless.
Yeah. Maybe foolhardy would be a better adjective.
So how competitive are you?
Well, that's changed quite a bit as well. I used to be very competitive, so anyone running past me, I'd just be thinking in my head, "Now we can't have that," and I'd give chase. But I've learnt over the years. I think maybe I've mellowed with age, you could say, that it's not about how fast you go. It's about how you want to finish, and how much you can enjoy it. So I try and take it steady.
Not that competitive now. We just want to complete and enjoy it.
I still have. If someone runs past me, I still think, oh, let's go. And then I just think, nah, actually, it's okay. So I can temper it now.
Okay. In your opinion, what is your number one key to success in ultras?
I would say relentless forward motion, relentless forward progress. Just being able to just put one foot in front of the other, without thinking too much about consequences or anything that's going to go right or wrong. Just do it, literally.
Are you scared that you're ever going to run out of challenges?
No, definitely not. I don't think I'll ever run out of challenges. There's far too many things to do in this world. And I just got a heads up about another one that I was reading about just before I met you. So it's called the Hill Ultra. Apparently it's 55 times up a hill that totals 100 miles. So it's one of those cult UK races. So a friend of mine's just messaged me.
Sounds like something only Jerry would do.
No, I think there's more than that. There's about 40 other people who do it.
Okay, so your philosophy, right, on medicine. So we touched about it briefly, right? You said you had painkillers during the Tour de Jean.
Yes.
I can't my French again.
Yeah.
So, in general, when is it okay to take? Well, in your opinion, right? I know we're not a doctor, disclaimers, blah blah blah, right? But when is it okay to take medicines for you, and when is it not?
So in general, I don't. As a rule, I don't take any painkillers or medication just because I don't like the idea of masking the pain, which I think that's all the painkillers do. They mask the pain, they don't solve the situation, and they're not going to help recovery. You have maybe anti-inflammatories might help, but there are physical risks to that. You're at risk of bleeding out if you exercise immediately after taking anti-inflammatories, painkillers as well. Not a good thing. But in general, I don't do it, and I've taken them twice. Once at the very end of Tour de Géant when I was in so much pain that I didn't know what else I could do, and I wanted to finish. And there was 30 k's to go, and there was no way I was throwing in the towel with 30 k's to go after I've gone that far. And the second was during the Anzac Ultra, where we had a very lovely medic who made sure that we were all right and gave us some painkillers only if on the condition that we went and had a sleep and a rest and didn't go out for at least 4 to 6 hours. And so that kind of made it into a stage race for me, which was manageable. So the goal was to complete in that one. So that was all right.
Okay, so tell us your philosophy on DNFs, right? You've given a DNF before, and
Yes.
The first DNF, were you after you DNF'd, were you blaming yourself for having quit, or what's your philosophy on it, and how did you take it the first time?
Okay, so the first time was at the North Face, Australia, and I DNF'd due to hypothermia. And you have to, when you DNF at a checkpoint in Australia, you actually have to write down your reasons. And I did feel quite a bit better after looking at the first few entries in front of mine that all said freezing, 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 too bloody cold. And those were Australians. So I didn't feel so bad, but I did spend a good 2 hours at that checkpoint trying to warm up. And I was under a heater for an hour, and my hands were still cold. And I called home, spoke to my boyfriend, and spoke to friends at the race as well, and just said, what do I do? Shall I stop, or should I carry on? And in the end, they said, what, it's up to you. And one of them said, if you were anybody else, I'd tell you to get up, wrap you up, and chuck you out and get on your way. But you're half the size of everyone else I know. Your lips are still blue after an hour. So I think maybe it's better that you don't carry on, because UTMB was the next race on. So, and my philosophy on DNFs, to be honest, I actually didn't feel that bad not finishing, because I try and take something away from everything. So it's never a failure. It's a learning experience. So I learned that year that I have to be really prepared for the cold, and for UTMB that came in very handy.
So every DNF you have, do you actually keep log of what you've learned from it, or is that a mental note more like?
It's more a mental note, but I found like with the 2 DNFs that I've had with at North Face both times, I'll have to go back one day and actually finish the race. That I've learned something from it both times, and both times has stood me in good stead for the next big race that I've done. So I try and learn something from every experience, whether it's you get a lesson from it. Whether I finish the race or I don't finish the race, there's always something to take away from it.
Okay, you've done loads of individual runs, right? What's your philosophy on team runs? Do you want to do team runs as well, or not?
So I don't know really how I would fare in a team run, because I've done so many runs alone. I do a lot of my training alone as well. I have actually done quite a few group runs, or maybe not group runs, just runs with other people like Nora and Natalia out here in Hong Kong, which I've really loved. And it's just been kind of girly runs. We kind of talk about nonsense, and they keep me honest as well. They make me go at a speed that I wouldn't normally go by myself. But I think the dynamic has to be right with a team run. So far I've stayed away from them just because I don't know how I would fare in them, and I like not having the pressure of being having to keep up with the pace of other people.
Okay, now let's talk about your goals, 2015 and beyond, right?
Okay.
Tell us about what's next for you.
So 2015, in the next couple of weeks, I have 100K coming up, and that's in Cornwall, so it's my old stomping grounds. And this is put on by Mud Crew Events, which if anyone's down in Cornwall or headed that way, they're a lovely bunch, and they put on some really good events from the sounds of it. So this will be 100 kilometers on some coast path in Cornwall that will be absolutely beautiful. And then after that, I will be volunteering at the Ultra Trail Monte Rosa. I think it's Ultra Tour Monte Rosa, sorry. And so that's Lizzie Hawker's race, and I was hoping to stay on to cheer on friends at UTMB and the rest of it, but time and resources dictate that I actually have to get back and do some real work. And after that, I have a short run in the magnificent Marapo Trail, which is trying to draw attention to the fact that the Marapo Caves are a heritage site and they need saving because someone's going to bulldoze right through them. And after that, I have a 400 kilometer run in the Gobi Desert, which I'm very much looking forward to.
Insane. Okay, so
so for now, that's it.
For now, that's it. Yeah. Okay. Interest outside of running, right? Do you read a lot of books? Anything you could recommend to our listeners?
When I have time, I do try and read. So currently, I've just finished Lizzie Hawker's Runner, and that's a good read. I like it because she comes across very well, very genuine, and I subscribe to a lot of the same ethics and philosophies that she does as well. I'm also in the midst of reading Games of Thrones. On the last book at the moment, so I've got about 200 pages left, and I don't know how that's going to turn out.
Okay, so as we wind up, right, can you share with us, right, your parting words of wisdom? So someone who a lot of people look up to you as well as a role model, the same way they look up to Andre, right? What would you tell them? What would your parting words of wisdom be? The mantra you live by, your creed, your motto, what would that be?
Okay, so there's a few. One of them would be, if it doesn't kill you, it'll make you stronger. But I would say you need to temper that with some common sense as well. There's no point dragging yourself across the finish line if your leg's hanging off and you'll never run again. So understand what your priorities and goals are, and always move forward.
Relentless forward motion.
Yes, absolutely. Relentless forward motion.
Actually, if listeners want to talk to you further or have more questions, can they do so? If so, what's the best place to reach you at?
Probably Facebook. So I'm on Facebook. I'm Jeri Chua, and I do my best to respond to messages and friend requests. There's a lot piling out at the moment. I'm not getting too big for my boots, but sometimes it's difficult. So if you send me a message, then at least I know where you're from and what your intentions are, perhaps. And not that, I saw your profile picture and you look really nice.
Are we allowed to talk about RaceBase? You want to?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah? Tell us about RaceBase.
So I've just set up a company with some friends. So Michael Ormiston, Nick Tinworth, and Stephen Carr. And our company is called RaceBase. So we will be essentially an event company, and we've taken on the Grand Relay, the Great Relay, I beg your pardon. This is Vlad Ixel's race, and we will be running this race from now on with Vlad Ixel as one of the race directors, and we're hoping to make it something very enjoyable, well organized, and something that will carry on through the years. And essentially, the vision for RaceBase is to create events for the community so that everyone can get together and grow as a group, and bring the next generation in as well, and just keep this amazing feeling of when you do ultras and everyone knows each other, and this is there's high fives and the people sit down and have a chat, and there's time for other people. This is what we're trying to build and grow.
What about Tailwind? Do you want to tell us about that as well?
Okay, so there's all sorts of plugs going on here. Yes, so Tailwind is an amazing endurance fuel. But it is. having a background in nutrition science as well, exercise and nutrition science, I know what the technical or the physiological requirements are, and tailwind is formulated just to be as unassuming as possible, in your body, and that's what you want especially if you're doing endurance events. You want a consistent source of energy with electrolytes and something that isn't going to upset you, and it's very mild tasting as well. So if you haven't tried tailwind yet, it's about time.
Okay, excellent. Well, I'm going to give my friend Martin Dokas a plug as well. Go Lantau Basecamp, go Martin.
For sure. You can find tailwind at Lantau Basecamp.
You can find tailwind at Lantau Basecamp. Okay, excellent. Well, Jeri, I want to say thank you so much for being with us here today. Yeah.
No worries.
I know this isn't the best of locations. I'm making you sweat in a rather uncomfortable position, but that came out wrong. Totally wrong.
If you could see us now.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you so much for being here, right?
It was my pleasure.
And thank you for all the advice as well.
No worries.
So this is episode 12 of the Hong Kong Trail Rockers podcast. This is your host, Vince, signing off. Thanks.
Bye!
And before we conclude this podcast, I've got a Tailwind trail tip for you. This one's from Jojo Fan, one of Hong Kong's very accomplished marathon runners. She did the Standard Chartered Marathon in 2015 in 3 hours and 4 minutes. And in 2014, she did it in 3 hours and 2 minutes. She has a Tailwind trail tip on how to improve your pacing. So please take a listen to that. And thank you again for listening to episode number 12 of the Hong Kong Trail Rockers podcast. This is your host, Vince. Thanks.
Hi, this is Jojo Fan. My sharing for this week's Tailwind running tips is about how to improve your racing pace. To improve your racing pace, speed endurance training is very, very important. So, how can we improve our speed endurance? There are 3 workouts I like the best. The first one is 2 to 3 times 20 minutes long uphill. So you could find a long hill around 20 to 40 degree inclination, then run all the way up. After that, easy down for the next set. While the second session I love the best is 2K repeat for 5 times with 3 minutes jogging rest. For the above 2 workout, you could start with around 85 to 90% maximum heart rate, then very slowly accelerate. It's always better train with negative speed. If your legs feeling a bit tired during the run, then not a problem to slow down finishing the session. Alternatively, you could consider add a fartlek session inside your long running day. For example, if you are aiming for 30k run, then you could add a fartlek session after 15k and structure it with a minute hard and a minute slow for 10 to 20 sets, depends. You should feel like totally suffocated after the first minute hard and are not ready to set off for next set after the minute slow jogging. Suggest you run hard session uphill or on a flat, but not recommend heading downhill. After the fartlek, you could continue rest of your training. When your muscle get used to this sort of training, then you shall feel your racing pace are improving. Hope you found this helpful. Happy running!